Trustee Sharp, can you respond so we can make sure you can check in?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Mike? Getting me sound? Thank you. Hold on, Trustee Sharp. We're gonna try something different here.
Okay.
Let me know when you're ready to have her try again, Mike. Have her try. You want to try again, Trustee Sharp?
Yes, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Still nothing yet. We're gonna try something here.
Yeah, because
Okay, while we're working on that, board trustees, if you would remember to use your microphones when you're talking, and if you would all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
our nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
justice for all.
Up next is a motion to adopt our agenda. Are there any additions this evening?
No, there are
Can
no
you guys-
addendums.
Can
We
you
have a
guys hear
motion
me?
to adopt the agenda? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Up first is information and proposals. We will begin with the recognition of district staff retiring with 5 years or more of district service and district staff resigning with 10 years or more of district service.
All right, we will get started because he has a concert to get to. Mr. Gary Glass, and to introduce him are Torrington Middle School Principal James Catlin and Torrington High School Principal Alan Van Tilburg. But I think Mr. Catlin is going to take care of the introduction. Go ahead. Okay, you're good. Okay. After 20 years dedicated to
experience today hearing this band training out at school. I guess one of my greatest memories of him, besides him being a consummate professional, is this year at the boys and girls state basketball tournament. We had so many compliments from opposing teams and other teams in Casper College about how good our band was, and they blew everybody out of the water during warmups. So thanks again, good luck, and right into the sunset, my friend. Thank you.
And Mr. Van Tilburg, you can stay up, I believe, because we have next on our list is Torrington High School, Lisa Willie Racine, who has 9 years of service, and again, honored by Mr. Alan Van Tilburg.
Okay, while Mrs. Racine is coming up, just a few facts about her. This is her 39th total year in education. Some would say that she's seasoned, so she's put in her time and been 9 years here in Goshen County School District number 1 as a Spanish teacher. She's taught both at high school, college, here at THS. She has a degree in comparative linguistics. She has a very, very healthy Spanish club. They ran a supermercado for us here at THS, selling a lot of Latin and Mexican foods. She took great pride in that. Our students loved it, by the way. She also spearheaded collecting prom and homecoming dresses for young ladies that didn't have them. She's still collecting them and has informed me that I have to buy a rack for her for next year, even though she won't be on staff, at least at THS. She will be back, though, to teach college classes. So she's technically not on our schedule, but we'll still be serving our kids at THS. We're excited about that. Before coming to Torrington, she taught in Colorado. She also taught a little bit at CU Boulder, also in Paraguay and South America, and also in Madrid, Spain. As I've worked with Mrs. Racine, she has a great sense of humor. She'll battle with you sometimes, loves to speak Spanish. So I should have started out tonight with ¿Cómo están? Muy buenas tardes, but I didn't. She probably will speak some Spanish to you. But anyhow, congratulations. Thank you for your service at THS. Students love her, by the way. She well liked.
Thank you.
And our next recognition is from the Transportation Department and honored by Transportation Supervisor Todd Warner, Mike Dawkins, for his 14 years of service.
Come on up, Mike. Just a few little, Mike has been 14 years, like Mr. Kramer said. So I did just a few little numbers this morning, and these are only guesstimations because I looked at Mike's old route and it was roughly 54 miles a day. And if you take that into account over 14 years, we combine the two, the 4-day week with the 5-day week, that's roughly 134,850 route miles at just 54 miles a day. So, and Mike, I don't know if your route was any longer than what you had previously done, before your route that you just had.
That route for my whole career.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's so to kind of put that in a little bit of perspective, route miles, the greatest distance between any two mainland points in the contiguous 48 states is approximately 2,892 miles. So that means that Mike has traveled across the country about, 45 times. And just route miles, if you were to take the perimeter of the state of Wyoming, that's 1,900 miles. So Mike's drove around the state of Wyoming about 71 times, and that's just in route miles. Now, Mike has, did numerous years. Did you do activity trips from the first time you started the first year? I mean, I can't even tell you how many miles that would be then, a lot. But Mike is, in the 2 years that I got to work with Mike, and even before when I was a driver, he helped me in some of the activity trips that I had, the first ones that I did. And so I really appreciate that. Mike, I know Mike's kids loved him on the bus. He had a very well behaved bus. So, and I'm sure that, he's He's ventured into Colorado, Nebraska, South Dakota, a few miles in Idaho, having to go to Star Valley. And then, you know, just every activity that you can imagine. So Mike, we just want to thank you so much for your time. And good luck in your next venture. And Mike couldn't stay away. He is also now one of my sub drivers. So we really appreciate him at the transportation department. Thank you.
And we have a few retirees that were unable to join us this evening, but Mr. Corey Gilchrist will acknowledge their years of service. And I'll turn it over to him to do that.
They wanted me to pass along the apologies. They said if you had picked a lot worse night weather-wise, they probably would have been here. So don't take any offense. I'll go through these pretty quickly. Neil Baker's leaving us. He's going to be going to Gearing to coach the Bulldogs basketball team. So, and also teach social studies. He's going to teach as well. But he's been in education 31 years, and he was at Baird for about 17 of those. And fortunately for him, unfortunately for me, we coached there. I coached at Morrill at the same time he did. So if his win percentage at Gearing is as good as it was against me, we'll be reading about him in the Nebraska Coaching Hall of Fame or something along those lines. So Deb and Nate Jones started with us about 17 years ago. Deb Jones has been a para, special education para, for all 17 of those years, and Nate's been a PE teacher for all 17 of those years. They are going to retire to the retirement hotbed of North Platte, Nebraska, because of grandkids, obviously. Sherry Troutline has been with us for 25 years. She started out as K-5 general education para and is now and has been since 2007, the special education para at the middle school, high school. He's done a fantastic job. We're losing 70 years of experience with these people. It's going to be challenging to replace them. However, the one exciting thing about it was that was 4 Cornhusker fans that were out the door. So I was pretty excited about that. However, I'm pretty sure everybody I hired to replace them is a Cornhusker fan. So Miss Laura, can we get a screener question or something on there? All right, we'll work on that. Thank you.
Before we move on to the we're going to try the mics. All right, we're going to try the microphones again. Trustee Sharp, can we have you see if we can hear you this time?
Yes, Superintendent Kramer, I'm here. Did you
Try
hear me?
again. I'm going to just go with you because I can hear you, and I'm going to put my mic down by the computer. Mike, I can hear her. Yeah.
So you can still hear me?
Yep, I can hear you just fine. Well,
Okay, thank you.
there might be some feedback, but I don't know where
Mr. Kramer, can you hear me as well? This is Lena.
I can. I think it's because of here. Okay, have you try again here 1 second. Go ahead, Trustee Sharp.
Yes, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Nope, we're gonna go with the microphone, so I'll put it to my speaker and we should be able to hear you just fine.
Okay, thank you.
Up next, item 4.2 is recognition of our 2024 student representatives to the board. Mason Wilkes from PRS, Madison Kopenberger from THS, Loudon Bremer from Legal Fort Laramie, and Anna Hartman from Southeast. And I don't believe any of them are here tonight. So we thank them very much. They can coordinate with Central to get their scholarships. Next is our school presentation by Lincoln Elementary.
Good evening. I wanted to say, first of all, thank you for being here tonight. It is an honor to have you here at Lincoln. And afterwards, if you would like a tour of Lincoln, please let me know. I'd be happy to show you around. I have a short presentation for you this evening. And each of the presentations that we do, we always start out with a picture of our building. The Pencil School is really important and it's a great place to be. We have K2 students who attend with us. And we love to welcome them through those doors. I do have a packet for each of you. It is black and white, so we'll go to the next slide. And we have a small presentation from our TK students. Those would be our transitional kindergarten students, singing God Bless America. So please enjoy. Did check this prior and it did work. So. Thank you. And I really want to send out a huge thank you to Ms. Fitchie and Mrs. White for working with our TK students. Our transitional kindergarten program really sets kids up for success as they move into kindergarten. So we're really proud to have them. Next slide, please. Works now. Part of our data that we collect each year, I'm going to go through all the data points that we have started from the beginning of the year and the goals that we've set around those. One of our goals is SEL. That means social emotional learning. We want to be able to teach our students how to read and write and do arithmetic, but we also want our kids to be healthy and have well-rounded lives. So part of that is a screener that we do. Teachers fill out a series of questions around our students and how they are performing within the classroom, emotionally and academically. And we want all of our student body to meet at a minimum that 80% for proficiency. So if we're looking at self-awareness in the spring, we hit 85% of our students proficient, proficient. Decision-making, 85%. Self-management, 81%. Motivation to learn 84%, and relationship skills 84%. So we have hit that 80% mark. We're always working to increase and improve all of our scores, but we're really proud of that 80%. Next slide, please. Next part of our data that we collect each year has to do with behavior referrals, daily attendance, and then bullying and academic dishonesty. This year, our write-ups, major write-ups, we had 104, and a minor write-ups, we had 134. We're working on a new behavior matrix and write-up expectations to come out for the 25-26 school year. And we're going to be working really hard to decrease those numbers, especially through the Leader in Me program that we've instituted at Lincoln. Absences from 23-24 school year was 5,740. We have decreased that to 3,659. Still a large number that we need to work on, but we're happy to see that decrease of nearly 2,081 absences. Tardies was 841 in 23-24 school year. We've seen a reduction this year of 149. So 692 tardies. We also want to decrease that, and we're doing that work through Leader in Me program. We still have 0 bullying incidences as reported on Power School, and we also have 0% academic dishonesty. It might have something to do with 5, 6, 7, and 8-year-olds. Please turn your page. Another area of data collection that we do is through the Danielson model. That is our evaluation process for teachers. And so this slide has to do with teacher observations. For domain 2, we really want to establish a culture for learning. Here at Lincoln, every teacher is invested in every student every day. And they do that through all kinds of lessons within their classroom, the engagement that they have for their students. We're really implementing Leader in Me lessons. We've done some assemblies this year, and we're looking forward to increasing our Leader in Me lessons throughout the next year. We do morning greetings every morning to our students. They have a choice board on how they want to enter the classroom. We also have Walk to Learn that's very consistent for first and second grade. Walk to Learn means that students get to go to other teachers to have their core learning for OG, which is our Orton Gillingham Phonics program. This allows teachers to be able to teach kids where they are and to help increase their skills as they go. So we do have a few kindergarten classrooms that also do that, but for right now, it's consistency with first and second grade. Domain 3 is engaging students in learning. There was 62.5 hours of formal observations this year and 58 hours of informal walkthroughs. Really what we're looking for there is the OG structures and Eureka, which is our math program, having those things in place, as well as just being able to come in and see that teachers are working with kids and they love being there. For teacher PD this year, we are going to increase writing across the curriculum and the science of reading. All staff have either taken the writing revolution or they are enrolled to take it this summer. All general education SPED and title teachers have also been trained in Orton Gillingham as well as Eureka. Now the good stuff. This is what we're really proud of, and I'm very, very proud of all of our teachers and the hard work that they've done this year. Kindergarten is our first area that we'll look at in the fall. This is for reading. 28 out of 66 of our students were proficient, which gave us a proficiency rate of 42% of our kids being proficient coming into kindergarten. They are leaving kindergarten, 91% of our students proficient. We're really, really excited about that number. The two goals that we have up there are district goals, which are 95% of our students reading on grade level by the end of second grade and subsequent years. And then year to year that each one of our classrooms increases by 10% from fall to winter and from winter to spring. So 20% over the year. Goal number 1 is not met yet, but we're increasing and closing that gap. And we're really looking to be at 80%, then 90%, and then 95%. So we're working really hard to get there. In first grade, coming in, 31 out of our 74 students were proficient with a proficiency rate of 42%. They're leaving with 62% of their students showing proficiency. Second grade came in 35 out of 85 students with a 42% proficient rate, and leaving second grade going over to third grade with 71% of our kids reading on grade level. So we're very, very excited about the data that we have collected this year. There's been huge growth, and they deserve a lot of thank you for their hard work. Next slide, please. For our math scores, we want students to be ready for Algebra 1 by the end of 8th grade. That doesn't equate very well to K1 and 2. So we're looking at 80% of our students being proficient or more. When kindergarten students came in, 38% were proficient. They're leaving in the spring, 89% of them with proficiency in math. First grade, 57% proficient coming in, 82% of our kids leaving with proficiency in math. And second grade, we had 59% of our kids coming in proficient, 85% of our kids leaving with math proficiency. We're really, really excited about that. And lastly, communication with the community. One way that we've been able to do that this year is through our Facebook post. Thank you. Is through our Facebook posts. We have 2 to 3 per week. Just push, keep it on. And we have lots of pictures throughout the year with our kids and our staff and our community. We're really proud of what we do here at Lincoln. We have lots of activities going on all the time. So please join our Facebook page and see what we do. Any questions? No? Thank you guys for your time. Oh, I do have one more slide. I do have books at your table. I have received some of them back. If you will sign the inside cover, those are books that were your favorites. We have gotten them for you. We want to have them in our library. So if you will sign those, we'll get those put in the library. I also wanted to thank our teachers who've had a very long day today. We had planned for field day tomorrow with the weather coming in. We were very, very flexible. And so we had field day here today. So it's been a long day out in the sun, and we still have teachers here today. So I want to thank them for coming back and being a part of this here. So thank you.
Thank you. It's always good to hear what's going on in our schools. Up next are committee reports from our board members, beginning with the policy committee. Trustee Alexander, would you like to? I'm going to put you on the spot.
For the policy committee. Most of those are on our agenda tonight. We went through staff, client and staff communication relations, purchasing, and homebound instruction, and medical leave bank. And certified professional staff leaves and absences. So all of those are on our agenda tonight.
Thank you. Up next is the District Activity Advisory Council.
Okay. The main thing that we discussed last meeting was what is also on our agenda tonight, which would be soccer, middle school soccer. We did go over some discussion of handbooks to make sure that everybody's on the same page with the same handbook between all the different schools. And we have a sportsman summit coming up that some of our teachers and coaches and everybody's putting together for August for the kids.
Thank you, Trustee Alexander. Our board building committee is the next one. Make someone else do it.
Yeah, on the building committee, we went over quite a few pretty big projects. One of them's at THS gym is a fairly large project that's kind of been talking about for the last couple of years. It'll be a multi-year project. They're going to work on kind of the ceiling this year and some windows and just kind of spruce it up a little bit. It's kind of looked the same for quite a few years, so it'll look different here the next couple of years. The seats at the THS auditorium are super bad. I don't know if you guys have sat in them. They're the same seats that since I went to school, I don't know, about half of them are broke and you kind of just slump down in them. So we'll get some new seats. That'll be nice. Up at Lingo's football field, they're going to get some new bleachers, get rid of some of them old ones. That'll be good. We talked about LaGrange's kitchen, some point doing some upgrades in there. So that was about it.
Thank you. And we are also going to add on a report from our wellness committee that met last night. I'm not sure who's on that committee.
Trustee Alexander also.
Okay. Health and wellness. We went over some, let me get to the right one here. We're going to be having an administrative review coming up a year early. We went over some changes that were already meeting as far as changes in sodium and sugar and things like that that are allowed in the school lunches and breakfast. So we're ahead of schedule on that. And we're going to be having the summer feeding program, it looks like has been approved, is going to be going on. and we'll be handing out lunches and things at the parks, as well as being able to come to Trail School to have breakfast and lunch.
Thank you. You're on a lot of committees. Up next is a presentation by TMS Assistant Principal and Activity Director Jim English proposing the addition of middle school soccer for the 25-26 school year.
One thing before you get started,
sorry.
Ms. Cates wants to just provide a quick update, an elaboration on the LaGrange kitchen project from the board building committee. So if you can just elaborate a little bit more, Ms. Cates.
The first three items from the board building committee are action items further down in the agenda. The LaGrange kitchen project does require a little bit of more work. There were some issues with timing and contracting. So the LaGrange kitchen won't appear until the June agenda. And we actually are looking at delaying that to a summer of 26. So it still is an active project. Pricing seemed pretty favorable. Some need for some additional vetting. We actually have a meeting scheduled here in a week and a half for that project. So just because it's not on the agenda, I don't want people to think that it's kind of a done thing. It's still active. It just needed some more work.
Thank you, Ms. Cates. I apologize for skipping over you. Now, Mr. English.
First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here to present a new middle school program. And also thank you very much for your service to Goshen County and our students. I feel a bit of anxiety here. We have a fully dressed soccer team right here behind me. And I feel like the pressure's really, really on here. I cannot mess this up. We've been working at it for about the last year with the DAC program, the District Activities Administrator Council, talking about adding middle school soccer. We feel like we have a great community program for our younger kids. We have a solid program at the high school level, but we missed that gap for grades 6, 7, and 8. And the reason why I'm here tonight, number one, is the fact that Torrington High School and Goshen County Soccer competes against the 3A East schools, and Torrington is the only program that does not have middle school soccer to support and build upon their high school program. So I'd like you to consider that option right there. I think that's very, very important. The slideshow here, we want to focus on developing a program that builds skills, fosters teamwork, and ensures that everybody involved has fun. So the agenda essentially that I'm going to talk about is some basic information about the soccer program that we have talked about for about the last year. I want to present some student data to show you a definite need within the county and an interest within the program, and then discuss the cost of the program to start and then for an annual cost for the future. As far as the basic information, it would be a spring sport. We would align that with the track season. So we would start that in about the middle of March and go through about this week. Our goal would be to schedule about 8 to 10 games throughout the season and try to schedule those games so that there's a mix of games after school and games on weekends. As far as the proposed opponents, I've had a conversation with the ADs from these schools. Newcastle, there's a 1 there. That means we would like to play Newcastle 1 time. We'd like to play Buffalo 1 time. We could play Scottsbluff 2 times, Gearing 2 times, Rollins once, and Douglas twice. So we'd have a home away with 3 of those schools, and then hopefully schedule Newcastle on a Saturday away, and then have a scheduled game versus Buffalo at home. So we have that long travel once a year only. Again, the number of competitions was in parentheses. 2 against Scottsbluff, Gearing, and Douglas, and 1 against those other schools. So I want to talk now about student interest. We did a survey for 4th, 5th, and 6th graders at all 3 of the schools within the county. This is Torrington Middle School's data. You see that in 6th grade, we had 11 boys and 4 girls that expressed interest. 5th grade, 13 boys, 14 girls, and 4th grade, 12 boys and 8 girls for a total of 36 boys that expressed interest in participating in soccer and 26 girls. At Lingle Fort Laramie, 6th grade had 5 boys and 5 girls. 5th grade had 9 boys and 5 girls, and 4th grade had 9 boys and 1 girl for a total of 23 boys and 11 girls. And then Southeast, we just did a grand total, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, 5 boys and 9 girls. So the bottom line here is in bold here. The district total, we have 64 boys that have expressed an interest in those 3 grade levels and 46 girls. So I think we can say based on that information, there's definitely an interest within the community for this program. So let's talk about the coaching staff. We would hire 2 head coaches, one for the boys program, one for the girls program, and 2 assistant coaches, one for the boys and one for the girls. Here's a breakdown on the costs for coaching. A head coach, based on our district process, would be $4,333 each. That's one for the boys, one for the girls, and the assistant coaches would be one for the boys, one for the girls, $2,167 each. So that's an annual cost to the district of $13,000 for coaches. Okay? Any questions about that? So the next cost to the district would be the cost for officials. We figure it's $90 per game, and there are 3 officials, so it'd be a total of $270 per game. If we had 10 boys games, 10 girls games, and half of those are away, that'd be 10 home games. So it's going to cost us about $2,700 for officials, assuming we can get officials that live in Torrington, so we don't have to pay mileage on top of this fee. Any questions here? So I broke this down, and we're talking about, so let's say you approve this program, then starting in the fall, we can start having conversations with kids to get a more solid number on those that want to participate. Would it be a 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade program? Or would it be a 7th grade, 8th grade program? And we debated this. Let's say that we had a conversation with 7th and 8th graders, and we had 50 kids that want to play, then we probably wouldn't include the 6th graders right away, because we might have too many kids. So again, in that conversation, if we had 25 7th and 8th graders that wanted to participate, then we probably want to pull some 6th graders into the program. So we're not quite sure whether it's 6, 7, or 8, but we would begin developing that thought in the fall. So I said here, we need 50 uniforms. I said it's going to cost us $25 for a top, $20 for shorts, for a grand total of $4,500. This cost would be incurred to start the program next year, and then we usually purchase uniforms about every 6 years. So in terms of the cost of the program, we need this next year, but we won't need it again for a while. Okay? I did visit with our high school soccer coaches. I said, so give me an idea of the equipment that we're going to need. This is what Mr. Arnish said that we would need. The top 2 are portable soccer goals. So you put them out there and kids are kicking the balls towards those. Two of the Quickster goals are about $300. Two pug goals are about $190 total. Apparently we need 20 soccer balls for the boys and 20 for the girls. That's going to run about $800. We put down here 2 sets of practice jerseys so that if you're doing a scrimmage type deal, you put a vest over the top, you know who's on your team. Cones so we can designate an area. So roughly $1,480. Upstart for equipment. We spend about $1,000 per sport at Torrington Middle School right now. Basketball, wrestling, football is a little higher, tracks about that. So right in there. And obviously we wouldn't need to replace all of that every year. So it could be a little bit less. So this is the financial breakdown. Again, coaching salaries, $13,000, officials, $2,700, equipment is about $1,500, uniforms every 6 years, about $4,500. So the annual budget would be about $17,200 for the program. Questions about that? So that's my presentation. Again, I think a couple of things that I like for you to think about. Again, we all know that anytime our kids are involved in activities, they do far better academically. They do far better socially. We also know that research will tell us that based on the information I gave you here, our kids want to play soccer. They want to play soccer in the middle school. Our middle school soccer program has 96 kids in it. We can't put 96 kids in a track meet. We choose track meets we want to go to by those that will allow us unlimited entry because we have so many kids. And so if we were to add a sport in the spring, I know we're competing with track, but at the same time, we have lots of kids that want to be involved in these spring activities. So I'd like for you to keep that in mind. And again, think of Torrington High, which is a Goshen County program. Everybody we compete against has a 2-year advantage because they have middle school soccer in 7th and 8th grade. Yes.
Have you thought about how the transportation issue about getting Lingle and Southeast kids would they be able to participate in this program? And how would we get them there after school?
So the question is transportation as it pertains to Lingle Southeast coming to Torrington. You know, we started this with our middle school girls wrestling program, where we're busing kids to either Lingle and or to Yoder and or to Torrington. We actually have a bus with spring sport participants right now from those schools coming to Torrington for soccer. And then of course, track's a little bit different. We have had those conversations. We've talked about if you practiced at Southeast on their practice field, then you could bus from Lingle to Torrington to Southeast. If you practice at Torrington, and we would talk probably practicing at Trail because of the high school needs for facilities as well in soccer. Then you have to have a bus coming from Yoder and from Lingle to Torrington. I think that's kind of what we settled on, would be to do that practice at Trail, but there is some flexibility there. And so, yeah, we've had those conversations. Probably can't say definitely this is what we're doing.
That's perfect. The other question I have, and this might be something for Marcy, in terms of transportation for games, is that part of what, does the transportation get reimbursed? So that's not in addition to, okay, thank you.
Mr. English, Trustee Sharp has a question, so I'm going to turn it over to Trustee Sharp. Go ahead, Trustee. I think you're still on mute.
Mr. English, do we have a sufficient number of practice and game fields for soccer? Will we run into any trouble?
So the question was, do we have sufficient facilities, practice and game fields? That's where, again, we talked about Yoder has their practice football field, the grass field, not the artificial surface, because their track kids and athletes are sometimes around that area. We talked about Trail. That's probably where we would begin the program is there, but, like if Torrington High is on the road, then I think we should consider having some opportunities to practice on the same field that we play our games in. I think that's important.
Yes.
So yeah, it's going to be tight. We also talked about the city fields, and we've had conversations with the city about, is this an option? And they've always said, yeah, let's build a program. Let's use our stuff. Might have to borrow a couple goals.
No, that sounds great. Thank you.
Mr. English, with the schedule, is it like when you listed those teams, is that just a one game schedule? Like you go to Scottsbluff, you play one game, so it's just like a varsity team that you wouldn't have like a JV side to the soccer or?
So what I would consider doing as an AD in terms of scheduling, if I play Buffalo, they're going to want to play a boys game and a girls game. So we could play either home or away. Newcastle, we're going to play one boys game, one girls game. Douglas kind of fluctuates depending upon, they've had their program for about 3 years and they've had enough for like an AB game. And then they've not had enough. Right now, Garion's going to play us a boys and girls. Scottsbluff will play 2 boys and 2 girls. So what we normally do there then is we'd send our girls to Scottsbluff. They could play an A game, a B game, and then the boys would come here and play an A game, B game, and then flip that the next year. So it just depends on the size of the other programs.
Thank you, Mr. English. I think. Any more
Thank you.
questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We are on to our public comment section of this evening. Please remember there is a 5-minute time limit. First up, and I preemptively, I'm sorry if I say your name wrong, Kian Arnish. Is it Kian?
Good evening. My name is Kian Arnish, and I'm a 5th grader at Lingle. I would like the Goshen County School Board to consider adding a middle school soccer program in Torrington. I've been playing soccer most of my life through GoIO and also for a local club soccer team. These are some of my teammates throughout the years. I would really like to have a middle school soccer program in Torrington to help students learn from certified coaches and help build our soccer programs. I think soccer is important because it helps teach teamwork, sportsmanship, leadership, and it helps students stay healthy and active. Soccer has allowed me not to only build game skills, but also build friendships. I am able to play with other kids across the school district, and that is important for building community. A middle school program would allow for students to meet other teammates and build relationships with them. I also think it is important to have different teams for boys and girls so we don't have to play against each other and risk injury due to size and ability differences. I would really like to see a soccer program added to Torrington Middle School next spring. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Kian, and the rest of you for coming this evening. Up next is Heather Arnish.
Hello, I'm here in support of adding middle school soccer to our school sports programs. I was one of the original people to get our high school soccer program started at THS in 2007. We did suggest getting a middle school program started some years after, but we're told to wait until more schools surrounding us had middle school soccer programs already in place. Now, years later, we are one of the only schools that do not currently have a middle school soccer program. I feel that having soccer in middle school would be a great attribute to our players, school, and community. It would definitely benefit our high school program as gaining skills from middle school would put our teams at a much greater advantage. And I just would love to have you guys consider it, and thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Rebecca Cohorn.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I appreciate your time and allowing me to speak. First of all, I have a question. The Wyoming legislature has passed a bill, resolution that homeschooling parents are no longer required to list the curriculum they intend to use when they are homeschooling. As far as I am aware, the procedure for allowing this parent to contact and notify the school district that they of intent to homeschool. That form has that information on it. And so I was just questioning what the procedure for that is going to be this coming year. I know you're not allowed to comment or respond to me, but if that could be addressed in the comment section, I would appreciate that. Number two, I just have a word of encouragement. I know that about this time last year, the superintendent expressed a situation that he was becoming aware of, where teachers hired in one position were after considerable expense of training them and getting them fully prepared to be in that position, were transferring to another position, and they were having to be retrained all over again. I would just hope, it was expressed that they were going to try to eliminate or discourage this. And I would just hope that this continues for those of you that are unfamiliar with this situation. For instance, they hire someone for a middle school para position, and they spend a great amount of time training that person to be in that position. And then if there's an elementary gym position that becomes available, an elementary PE teacher, that person might transfer over there. And I would certainly hope that in that instance that the amount of time and effort and money spent teaching that person to be in that middle school para position would be honored by keeping that individual in that position. Thirdly, I would like to say that I'm also in favor of the middle school soccer. It only makes sense to train what you hope to be competitive in. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is our consent agenda. Would any trustees like to pull anything from the consent agenda? If not, can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under new business, our first item is to consider approval of the fiscal year 2026 preliminary budget as presented. Do we have a motion? Is there a second? Any discussion? Would you like to go over it a little bit, Marcy?
I have a few items as part of the budget that I'd like to share with you. The budget begins on page 61 of your board packet. The budget provided to you for general fund mirrors what was provided before beginning salary relations, with one exception. And that's a transfer of $100,000 to the BOCES fund from general fund. That is a result of the property tax reduction that the legislature passed. So if you go further into the budget, looking at pages 68 and 69, both of those funds will see a reduction in revenue. The BOCES fund is projected to see a reduction of $17,500. Additionally, the BOCES fund has exhausted all cash reserves. So the $100,000 is the estimate of what it will take to sustain what has been provided throughout past years for dual and concurrent enrollment at the high school level. The,
Marcy, can I speak to that just real quick, if that's all right? That's one of the things that I know, as this legislative session went on, a lot of conversation was about the property tax cuts and how they affected local government entities along with our fire departments and things. This was one piece that was not discussed very much, but is very significant. Our budget for BOCES that we utilize to pay for college credit courses. Marcy, I hate to put you on the spot because I didn't give you a warning about that. What is our line item in that typically, or what is our expenditure for college courses?
our dual and concurrent, was budgeted at 400,000 for 24-25. And, we're budgeting at 320,000 for next year, 25-26.
So that's 400,000 that parents don't have to pay for college and get set up for kids already currently in high school to take college courses. When that funding goes away, that ability for parents falls back on all parents to pay for that college education. And so we're not getting a tax break. Your property taxes do in some cases go away, in some cases if you don't have children, but for the greater good. So I think it's very important to realize that even if it's not the number one thing on the list and the downfall of those, BOCES and the dollars that go towards dual and concurrent courses, this year we're very, very fortunate. Our budget is in a situation where we can move dollars from general fund to cover this. In years coming up, we will have to make a choice as to whether, as a district, we will pay for college courses for our students, or if we're going to have to limit them. I really, really struggle with that, especially in our community, when I see students who want to go into a profession that certainly requires a college education to have to say, sorry, we're going to limit you on what college courses you can take in high school. This is something that has been fundamentally around the United States as an opportunity for them, and to have to limit that in Goshen County, I'm gonna struggle with that, and I think it's very important. I know there's varying opinions all over the board related to the property tax cut, and I respect all views, but I think it's important that we educate ourselves in how some of those services certainly get limited when we have those cuts made at the state level.
Mr. Kramer, can I ask a question? Isn't it in statute that high school students will have the opportunity to take a certain number of credit hours at the college level before they enter? And so how will we do that? Like, that's in statute.
We extend beyond statute right now. We provide, so we would be limiting that, which will certainly fall within that budget of BOCES as we limit it. But we have a number of students graduating with an associate's degree before they get their high school diploma. And so what we are saying in essence, then, if we will have to have this conversation in the future. Fortunately, we don't have to go down this road currently, but it will be coming, in which we say, how do we plan to limit this? Do we limit it by the number of courses a student is able to take, by the particular courses they're able to take? We will still have to provide, as indicated by state statute, some opportunities, but we will not have to, we are not required to provide a large number that we are already providing for right now. But I think that's a really important feature that, and I don't have the percentage, Mr. Derby, of the number of students in our senior class that typically take at least one college course by the time they graduate. It has to be, it's farther than 75%, I'm sure, probably even 80, 90% possibly that take a college course before they exit high school, which is again, great opportunity to find out, because we all know 2- and 4-year institutions are not for every student, but to have that opportunity to experience that with some guardrails is a great advantage for many kids, and also cuts down significantly on the number of years that they have to take out loans for college tuition. Sorry, Marcy, keep going on your report for your budget.
I'm kind of working backwards in the packet, but on page 68, the rec fund, it's important with the rec fund that we recognize that we look to receive a reduction of 35,000 in that fund. And that again will be money that is not available to provide for those rec board requests. And again, that's a function of the property tax reduction. The food service fund on page 66 shows the transfer from general fund of 450,000. That is in order to sustain the CEP eligibility that we've had in the past years. And then the only other one that I would like to elaborate on is the special fund on page 63. We do not have allocations yet from the state via the Fed for the title programs. So what I've provided here is our existing funding less the ESSER funding and the LIT grant funding that have gone away. That just topically shows you that we're looking at least a reduction of $1.5 to $2 million in federal programs. And lastly, just on page 66, with the budget presented, we still look to have a carryover balance of $5,477,000 for 16.43% carryover. With that, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
I have a question about the BOCES. How does that affect our Gillette BOCES?
Trustee Alexander, the Gillette BOCES is a little bit different. They are the ones that are assessing the mill. Our expenditures to the Gillette BOCES, if we place students there, would stay the same. So the property tax reduction does not directly affect us right now. They may assess greater charges based upon their funding being decreased.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next item is to accept the resignation submitted by District Occupational Therapist Shayna Hageman effective May 28th, 2025. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next up is to consider approval of teaching contracts for the 25-26 school year. For Alan Bruce as a special education teacher at Southeast Elementary, Tanya Jones as a special education teacher at Torrington High School pending Wyoming teacher certification, and to Mandy Blumker as a special education teacher at Trail Elementary. Do we have a motion? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Sorry, I'll give you a little bit more time for those of you online. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next up is to consider the addition of middle school boys and girls soccer for the program, middle school boys and girls soccer program for the spring of 2026. Do we have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Who,
Yes.
Trustee Alexander, you made the motion, and who was the second on that? I'm sorry.
Trustee Steinbach seconded.
Thank you. Yes.
Do we need them to say?
Yeah, would they say, make a motion, state the motion for addition of middle school boys and girls soccer?
We're going to back up a little bit. Can we have you state that you would like to make a motion to approve accepting a boys and girls soccer program, please?
I make a motion that we consider approving the middle school boys and girls soccer program for the spring 2026.
Perhaps without the word consider. So either are
Just
moving
authorize.
to approve it and
I
then we can
move to
discuss
approve
it. Sorry, thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Did I go too fast?
No, I just want to ask a quick question. I thought of it at the last second. And this is for Marcy. Do we have the funds, obviously, to be able to approve that program, to sustain it?
I feel confident with what you've seen in the general fund budget that soccer could be implemented into that.
Okay, thank you.
To answer your question, also earlier in the year, this was an extensive conversation when we had a different projection on the budget that we talked about and how that's changed. And that recommendation may have been certainly contingent on that budget, but now in looking at the budget, certainly we are very comfortable with adding this budgetarily.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Congratulations, boys. Up next is consider approval of proposed revisions to District Policy 2421 line and staff communication as presented on first reading. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Sorry, ladies, I'll give you a little more time. Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next up is consider approval of proposed revisions to District Policy 3420 purchasing as presented on first reading. Do we have a motion? Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I know that there are some thoughtful reasons for this, but I can't help but feel like the increase is pretty substantial. And I subscribe to the idea that if you take care of the pennies, the dollars take care of themselves. So, and less oversight is not something that I'm terribly excited about. But that's all I would say about that.
I don't know if this helps at all, trustee Goulart, but in the policy committee discussion, the large increase was for purchases of one item. Correct me if I'm wrong. So it'd be if there was an item under $10,000, but it was one thing. So am I saying that correctly?
So yes, as you look, there are two different numbers there. For individual items, it would be if anything over 10,000, then would be go to the board. If it's multiple items with one vendor, it would be 15,000. So it'd be multiple items. So for example's sake, when we have our purchases of cleaning materials and things, and there isn't one item on there, that would be a mark of 15,000. But let's say we had a scrubber that we were purchasing and that specific scrubber was over 10,000, then that would come to the board. Anything under 10,000 for an individual item would be superintendent, and anything as a large vendor would be total items of 15,000.
Thank you. That was much better than what I was trying to explain. I don't know if that helps, just a little bit more clarification. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I'd also like to elaborate for trustee Goulart. The bill listing will not change. All that this policy does is it changes the items appearing in the consent agenda or the new business. All bills for payment and checks being processed will still appear in the bill listing. So as the board, you still see what checks are scheduled for payment to vendors.
Thank you.
To be clear, that would reduce the number of items, obviously, that the board would be approving. So in that price range, if there was some item that the board might find objectionable, it's too late, that ship will have sailed and that bill will have been paid. Is that correct?
The checks are not drafted until after you have approval at this board meeting. So we don't write checks until tomorrow morning, after you approve, that check listing.
Okay. Thank you for that clarity.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item 7.7, consider approval of proposed revisions to District Policy 4330 Medical Leave Bank as presented on first reading. Do we have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. 7.8, consider approval of proposed revisions to District Policy 6173 Homebound Instruction as presented on first reading. Do we have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Sounds like 5 or something.
Talk too fast. 7.9, consider approval of contracting with Clover Therapy Services LLC for speech language therapy services for 25-26. Do we have a motion? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Is this the Tiny Eye? Or what is this in addition to this?
You go ahead. I'll let you and I can fill in.
This particular item with Clover Therapy, this is kind of a hybrid, as it's explained to me with Mrs. Nichols. What we have with Clover Therapy is that they do come into the district. So we do see live therapists, but then they also do some time online. So it's a hybrid. Tiny Eye is 100% online.
And so will this further reduce what we pay for Tiny Eye
Potentially.
service?
Yes, potentially it could, because this would be also a service that would be, yep. This is something that Office of Special Services has looked into as an alternative in some ways to Tiny Eye, but then also matching when Tiny Eye is a good option, still having that option also.
Do we just pay for Tiny Eye based on the time we use it, or do we make it a big amount of payment to them? Like contract?
Tiny Eye and Clover do bill monthly based upon usage. So we're seeing those bills based upon hours of service. The other thing that we have with Tiny Eye and that Mrs. Nichols is working hard on, with Tiny Eye, we have to have staff in the room, at least with those elementary kids. So we have some para positions. And when the staff are actually there servicing the kids, we don't have to have that.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. 7.10, approve the maintenance support agreement with Long Mechanical Solutions for district building automation and HVAC systems controls for 2025 and the total amount of $26,790. This is from General Fund Operations and Maintenance. Do we have a motion?
I move.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
I.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. 7.11, approve contracting with Eeks Office Solutions for a 4-year district copier lease agreement for a monthly hardware lease of $2,832.52 and print costs for black and white at 0.0032 per page and color at 0.029 per page. This is a general fund expense. Do we have a motion? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. 7.12, approve contracting with Goshen County Construction for the TH Gym walls and ceiling project with insulation removal completed in the summer of 2025 and the walls and ceilings stained or painted and the side windows replaced in the summer of 2026 in the total amount of $868,140. This is a major maintenance expense. Do we have a motion?
I'd move to approve.
Is there a second? Any discussion?
I'm sorry, I keep having questions. I'm just wondering, since we won't have any, they won't be doing any work on the walls until 2026. Once they remove that insulation, will there be issues?
So what there will be, it will be a blank wall, so without insulation, and we will not have, you'll notice around here, the boards, the soundboards. So there is potential for more echoing and things, and it has to deal with the timeline. It's one of those, because of the significant need, it's either we would be looking at an alternative for the volleyball season all through the fall, if we wanted to get it in 1 year, and even possibly into basketball season. Or we do it over a 2-summer piece, and we, for that in between, try to accommodate as best we can in that 1 year phase. But that's a good question. It'll be we're curious on exactly how it's going to look. We've known that the popcorn that has been up there has been extremely ugly and things that we wanted to improve for years. And unfortunately, it will look different. But it also, I think, having that down and seeing the progress, I'm looking forward to seeing what we will have and what we can kind of do for the next year and how we can accommodate that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
I.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. 7.13, approve contracting with Goshen County Construction for the THS Auditorium seating replacement project in the total amount of $797,878. This is also from major maintenance funds. Do we have a motion? Someone say something? Sorry. Sound doesn't travel very well in here. Is there a second? Any discussion?
I guess just because these are big ticket items and not everybody might be aware of why this is so expensive. Maybe we could just cover why these are pretty substantial projects.
So these are the ones, and I mentioned this a couple of meetings ago, when we talked about having these larger projects and more or less saving for them. And that's for the last 5 years, Marcy and I have been talking about these projects and wanting to more or less put savings away to be able to afford some of these larger projects. Because you're absolutely right. They are significant in nature, but they're also very needed. As was referenced in the committee report, these are the original seats. We're losing rows of seats in the auditorium. And inevitably, we have to keep those things up. The other piece that I've talked about before, when the legislature provides us with these dollars, one of the important factors that one of the superintendents that I was under as a high school principal that specifically talked about is our community doesn't pay us, or excuse me, doesn't pay taxes for us to be a bank. We should not be sitting on tax dollars. We don't put it into an account. We pay taxes to provide improvements into our facilities and for our students and our community. And this is one of those where we plan for 5 years to provide this improvement into our facilities. And now's the time to take the benefit of that savings and expend those on much needed larger ticket items. And this in particular, seating for that large of an auditorium is primarily the largest piece of this project, along with the previous project being the amount of work that will go into removing all of that insulation, the man hours, the dust control, all of those things are significant factors that go into the price tag that we see before us. And it is one of those that's tough, but if we with good planning that Marcy has done within the structure of the budget, we certainly believe that this is an opportunity for us to take that leap. And we also know, unfortunately, in the construction industry, the prices don't inevitably go down significantly if we wait.
Madam Chair, I'd also remind you on page 51 of your board packet in the fund balance comparison report, that report being provided to you on a monthly basis, the major maintenance account having $1.1 million in there. That's for your reference to have a comfort level in being able to approve these types of contracts.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item 7.14, approve contracting with Goshen County Construction for the LFL football field home bleacher replacement project in the total amount of $401,369, also from major maintenance funds. Do we have a motion? Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Up next is item, excuse me. Item 8, board topics for discussion. 8.1 is a discussion regarding moving the regular Tuesday, July 8th board meeting to Wednesday, July 16th to be held in conjunction with the annual budget hearing. The intent of that is to save us a meeting in July, correct? Thoughts?
Okay with it.
Do we need a formal motion for that or just a nod? Okay. So our July meeting will be held on Wednesday, July 16th. Up next, 8.2, discuss setting a date for a board work session for the mid-year superintendent evaluation and board self-evaluation in June of 2025.
I know trustees' schedules in the summer are really tight. I'm just going to take a look and see what might options be. So typically we've done also the third Tuesday, or excuse me, this would be before. So if we have, or our meeting is on the 10th. And so if you're looking at Tuesdays, we have the week of June 2nd, if we wanted to do the week before. Or you have those 4 days after Memorial Day. Just trying to look here. Are there any nights during those that do not work for trustees? That does is June 3rd a possibility?
I will be out of town on June 3rd.
No problem. Just throwing some out there for options. Somehow the 5th, June 5th.
June 5th, not good for me.
Okay. Let's go back then. June 2nd. That would be the Monday.
That's not good for me either. Sorry.
Okay.
Could we do it the week after Memorial Day? Like the 27th or the 29th?
Is the 29th an option?
I'll
It
be
is
out of
for
town
me.
for work.
Lena will be gone.
Was the 27th one checked on?
We haven't done a temp check on that one yet.
27th.
I can do that one.
Going once. Twice. All right.
Ooh.
So May 27th, work session,
What time?
6 o'clock.
Sorry, Mr. Graver, I couldn't get my mute button to not work. I cannot make the 27th, but I don't want to hold up the whole thing just for me either.
Well, let's see. I'm trying to think.
So
How about the 9th? Is the 9th an option of June?
I will be gone the 9th.
Okay.
Is
Like
the
I said-
28th?
You can meet without me.
Like I said, I know trustees schedules in the summer are very, very challenging.
Could we
How
do it
about the-
before the board meeting?
That would be an option. Is that an option before the board meeting?
I would be fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Let's just plan it for then.
So what time would that make it though?
Then I would say best option would be, and I know for trustees, I know 5:15 is cutting it early. What is the earliest time trustees would be available on that? Would it be available before 5:15? Are we able to start a little bit earlier than that? Or what are thoughts? I know many of you have commitments for animals and such too. So I would probably say we need at least a half hour to go over the evaluation after you've completed it, and probably at least 45 minutes for you guys to have conversation before. So I would probably say an hour and 15. So if you went at 4:45, that would be enough time, if that's possible.
Could we potentially sandwich and do one before the meeting and one after? It'll make for a long evening, but it's
That would
not an
work.
additional.
No,
meeting.
that would work. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
plan on 5:15 and
Yeah,
whatever we
let's-
don't
yeah.
get done, we can finish after the meeting.
Yep, that would work. 5:15.
That was very difficult. Superintendent Kramer, could you give us a little bit of an update on the plan to address the state's requirement for firearms in the district, please?
Yes, so we have been working with our attorney, and right now he is outlining the specific dates, and I'm just gonna go on to exactly what he has sent us. Give me one moment. So what Mr. Kopecki is working on is he is giving us a draft rules notice template and then also providing a description of the process together. So he will outline all the dates that we have to have set in order to, if we would choose to move forward with the language in a policy and to discuss that, what we would need to have in place by our August meeting. And so then if we have that in place by the August regular board meeting, which would be the second Tuesday of August, as the goal for whatever policy may or may not be put in place, it would be before the start of the school year. And so he is outlining those dates and will have provided us that information in the next couple of days. And then we will also set additional dates for additional meetings that we may have to hold prior to that to allow for public comment, because it is different than the policy writing process, which calls for two public meetings. This will include public hearings because it is a rulemaking process, not just a policy process.
Is there anything else the board would like to discuss this evening?
Madam Chair, would you like to address the discussion that we have been having with Sue Bellish? Well, let me back up. I apologize. Through my board chair roundtables, one discussion that has been frequently coming up is the use of a consultant for boards with newer members, when the majority is newer members, to help communicate more effectively and just kind of learn to work with each other as a board. And so WSBA has recommended a consultant, and the consultant's name is Sue Bellish. And for a fee of $500 plus mileage and or lodging if she needed to stay the night, she's out of Cheyenne. We as a board could receive those services from this consultant who could come in and talk to us about how to function as a board and communicate and all those things. So wasn't sure what the temperature was of the board, and if there's any interest in that, we can look into pursuing that.
And that would look like a 2 to 3 hour work session for the board, if the board was interested in taking that route.
Do we have to decide now?
No. I mean, if we want to get it scheduled, we would need to make a decision as a board, but it was just an option for the board to think about as something to maybe work on.
I think any sort of board training is always a good idea. I think that new things come up, and it's never a bad idea to revisit communication and communication styles. And we do have, several of us are new. While we may have, many of us have been on boards before, you know, this is a new board and it's a new mix of people and communication styles. So I would be in favor of it, but that's just my.
Anything else to discuss this evening? Very quiet tonight. Up next is our future meetings. Our next regular school board meeting will be on Tuesday, June 10th at 5:15 at Central Administration Office. The annual district budget hearing, just kidding. We changed that, right?
So that is the date.
We are keeping that one. The July one's changed.
The July regular meeting is moving to that budget hearing.
So that is as it was. The annual district budget hearing will be conducted on, what are we doing? Wednesday? We're still doing, these are correct.
Wednesday, July 18th.
Okay.
It's July 16th. I said 18th. So
Sorry,
no, really.
I've been talking for too long and I'm getting myself confused now. On Wednesday, July 16th at 6 p.m. Up next is our superintendent's report.
So I will just go on to share the enrollment from this last month. Biggest piece there is the just color coding of each. Green indicates either that we stayed the same from the previous month or increased slightly. You can see LaGrange, Lingo, Fort Laramie High School, Lingo, Fort Laramie Elementary, and Lingo, Fort Laramie Middle School either remain the same or grew. Lincoln Elementary did have a slight decline of 2 students. Southeast Elementary maintained, Southeast High School maintained, Southeast Junior High maintained, and Trail Elementary maintained. And Torrington High School had a decline of just under five student total. And TMS had a decline of 2 students. PRS did have a slight decline of less than 1 student FTE. And then we, as a district, then had approximately an 8-student decline from the previous month. And so we also did have an update on our calendar that we did send in for approval from the Wyoming Department of Education State Board of Education, was approved for the 25-26, 26-27 school year calendars. We also, current district staffing, we are currently have some certified openings remaining, but we have done a very nice job this year and actually are further along than in the last 4 years in our hiring practices. There are some ones that we're still searching for. Also those that we discussed in the salary relations that were some new positions that were kind of posted a little bit later that we are looking to fill. But I feel very comfortable in where we're at. We are looking for a Torrington High School math teacher is one of those difficult positions that we're probably the most concerned about. I know Mr. Derby has been working with Mr. Van Tilburg on some possible options if we would get into a worst case scenario and not be able to find someone to replace for that position. But that is our update there. Also, there was a question in public comment that I did want to address in regards to the notification for homeschool. There may be some misnomers in regards to, and I want to make sure I get this correct, because yes, that is absolutely correct. The legislature did say that there is no longer the requirement to provide curriculum materials on the application or notification, I should say, for homeschool for public school districts. But the piece is there's still a requirement to notify your school district that you will be homeschooling your child. So what we'll be doing is there's a portion on our form that asks for the curriculum materials. What we will do is we will delete that portion of that form and keep everything else the same on that form. And that is everything that I had for my update, I believe.